Good morning. Hope you all are doing well. I'm going to be doing Scrap Your Stash Wednesday, which is a card, and we are going to be doing, we're going to be using these florals, these stitch florals again that I used last time with these. I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use these 3 flowers in this petal, but I'm going to do some different inks on them. And the papers that I've chosen for today: Carolina blue, the lemonade yellow, of course white daisy for my sentiment. Then I have In This Together, this is the back side, see, it's the same paper, just back side, and Daisy Meadows. I don't know if I'm going to be using the back side, this striped one, or this cross pattern. I might be using Daisy Meadows. I think that's pretty, and they do have very similar colors going together. So we'll just pair them up. So there's that. And then I already have all my flowers cut out. So a lot of them I cut 2 at once. So there's the Carolina blue and the lemonade for the flowers, and I did evergreen for the leaves. And I did it in the 2 different sides of the evergreen. So you know what I did. There's the 2 sides. There's a light and a dark. I did a couple in the light and 1 in the dark. Just give it a little bit of contrast. So there's that. We're going to go ahead and start by cutting. I'm going to go ahead and cut this polka dot one first. And this one will be 5.5 by 1.5. So I'm just going to do 1.5 first. And then 5.5. Okay, there's that one. I think I'm going to be using the Daisy Meadows for the other little strip. I'm going to go ahead and trim the 1/2 inch. This is a 1/2 inch strip, so it's not very big, but it just gives it enough pattern in there. See, and that's the back side, is this yellow gingham. But I want this pattern. So let's do this one, 5.5. There's that. Now I'm going to do this Carolina blue for the bottom portion of my card, which is going to be 5.5 by 3/4 of an inch. So let's just do 3/4 inch. And I'm cutting on, I want the dark side of the Carolina to show up on this one, and it's by 5.5. There's those. I have a daisy strip. This is going to be 3.5 by 3/4. So let's just do 3/4 first. So, no, that's half. Let's do 3/4. And 3.5. And I think I'm going to do a yellow one as well at that size. So let's go ahead and do 3/4 inch. Trim off this side. And 3.5. Okay. Now these 2 I'm going to be doing a dovetail on. I'm going to just do them together so that they're the same. So cut up in the middle and then cut from each corner up to the center where you cut first line. And I did about, I don't know, half an inch. 3/8 to half. I can tell you. Did about 3/8 up. Oh, maybe a quarter. Actually, let's do a quarter. So I did a 1/4 inch up the top. Okay, there's those two. Now we can go ahead and start assembling this card. Put that aside. I'm going to grab my card base. If you watch me before, I don't usually fold it unless I'm doing like a workshop or something. Then I will. But I always leave the ridge down. And this is actually a vertical or a horizontal card. Let's do it like this. So this is how it's going to be layered. 1.5 on top, the 1/2 inch, and then the 3/4 inch on the very bottom, just to tie it all together. Now I could always stamp something on that with like tone on tone, or even linen would look good with that one. And this one, I'm going to be, I want this little banner here just on top. I don't want this other little bit, but I'll get rid of that here soon. We'll cut that down. I don't want this little extra 1/4 inch there. And that's going to go right there. Okay, but let's do our sentiment first, which actually I don't think I chose a sentiment this morning, which is unusual for me. I usually have a sentiment chosen. Maybe we'll just do a hello card with the stamp of the month. So I know hello will fit on this little banner. So will thanks, but I think hello is a good one. Okay, grab my blocks. This one I've used a lot, so it's not like I have to really season it a whole lot. Now I could use sapphire. There's sapphire in this one. There's peacock in this one. But, oh, no! Do you ever drop your stamp pads? Your ink pads? I think that might be the first one I've ever dropped. Okay. Hello. And I don't want smudgies, so just get rid of my smudgies. And I'm going to put it in the center. I could put it on one side or the other and put a flower. Like I could have hugged it over here and put a flower there, and that would have been just fine too. And if I'm not happy with it, I can flip it over and redo it. Okay, there's that one. Go ahead and tape this guy down. Let's just tape all these down, and then we'll trim it. So this one is going to go about 1 inch from the top. So if you're wanting to measure with you this time. There's 1 inch. And then you just layer these ones right below it. I'm going to use the dark side of Carolina. And you should have 1/2 inch down here. Then I'm going to be putting this one halfway up this, and I'm going to move it just about 1/4 inch off the paper. Off the card. My sentiment, and I'll trim that here in a minute. My sentiment I'll go just a little bit below that, but directly on the edge. There's that. Let's just trim this off. I can bring my trimmer in, but it's just as easy with the shears. Okay, there's that one. All right, now I'll find all my pretty little flowers again. I think I covered all up. Okay, here's all my cute little flowers. Now I'm going to be doing a version of tone on tone with these. I'm going to set this aside up here so you guys can still see my card, but let's go ahead and stamp these guys. Now I can leave the green ones alone if I really wanted. See, I made a bunch of these. Made 6 flowers, so 3 of each. The green ones I can leave alone, or I can go ahead and do a tone on tone with those. But, and we'll probably try a tone on tone just to see how it looks. And if I don't like it, I won't use it. Take my hello off of here. And try to find my 3-inch square block. Okay. Now these are new. Some of these are new. Wrong side of the block. There is a right and a wrong side of the blocks. If you didn't know, there's a curved edge, which feels really good against your fingers, so make sure that that's up. And then there's a really straight, sharp edge down here, and that's where your stamp goes. That's also where this little line is. And it's actually cut into the block, the acrylic block. Just so you guys are aware, there is a line so that you can line things up. Now, I always make sure that some of these flowers may not be symmetrical. And so I kind of just make sure that they are before I actually stamp it. And it looks like this one is. Let's actually flip this over. So I can just stamp all at once and then wipe my first mat. And these are solid background stamps. So I'm actually going to do a double mat, and that just gives you a better stamped image. Okay, here's all my little pieces. See, even this isn't symmetrical. This one does not have that deep of a line of an indentation as over here. So I always line them up with that little bit known. Now if I can find it on the actual stamp. Okay, it's this petal here. So I want to make sure that that's up when I stamp. And I'm doing Sapphire on the Carolina. I do a rub, 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 tap, tap, tap type of deal. And again, that's up. Firm pressure down. That looks pretty good. Wipe it off. Again, make sure I know which petal is up. I'm going to put Sapphire aside for the moment. I could do Lemonade right on it, but I think I'm going to do Sundance. Just give it a little bit more color and distinction. Kind of like what I did with Carolina. There's my unique petal is up. And again, it's pretty rare that close to my heart has symmetrical flowers. So just be aware of that and just look. Because I can tell you right now, looking at these are not symmetrical. These little guys might be. I'm going to go ahead and put that one back. And sometimes what I do is I annotate what petal is unusual on my stamp set. So it's this guy right here. That's the unusual one, and I'll just put like a little dash or an arrow or something. Just so that I always know that there's something different. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other two, and since there's two of them, I have 2 blocks. Let's put this one on the big block, the bigger block. And there's the little guy. So I'm just gonna, these are new as well. So make sure you season your new ones. You can also stamp them a lot. But especially solid backgrounds, you really want to make sure that they are for sure seasoned. Okay, so I'm just going to line it up. I just want to see, I know that there are 2 petals that are quite a bit bigger. I think it goes like that. Just make sure it's the same for this one. No, it's not. So let me flip this one. Looks better. Okay, so I'm going to have my 2 inks out. I'm going to do Sundance first. Sundance is one of our new colors this year. If you're not familiar with it, it is beautiful. Alright, now Sapphire. Still doesn't look right. I'm just going to keep rotating it until I get what I need. That one looks right. This one's a little difficult to tell which way it goes. That turned out really nicely though. Okay, so I'm done with this one. Again, new stamp. This is a fairly new set to me. It's been in our core catalog since September, but I just didn't buy it yet, and now I'm kind of regretting that I didn't buy it sooner. It's such a pretty stamp set. And like I said, this one may not matter all that much. They look pretty symmetrical all the way around, so I'm just gonna, I always line it up to make sure. And this is another reason why I like to cut first, stamp after. It's because of this. That way I know I can line them up correctly. I don't have to worry about the dies. I think it's harder lining up a die than a stamp, personally. It's just a personal thing, I think. Okay, there's my Sundance, my Sapphire. I'm going to pull in Evergreen. Okay. Now I need my little leaf. Again, this one's new as well. Okay, it's all seasoned. It is a, leaves are almost always directional. It's close to my heart, so you just have to know which way. There's a fat end down here and a skinny end up here. So I just want to make sure my cuts are lined up accordingly, where the fat end is at the bottom. Excuse my head if it gets in. your frame. I quite like it, especially with the little curly Q. I think it's cute. So let's go ahead and do the others. Now the other thing that you can do with leaves are kind of neat because you can make them kind of stripy with your ink. And I'll do one as an example. So if you just push down on it, see if I can get this to show up. See how it kind of looks splotchy on the block? But if you want some direction to your leaves, you just swipe it on your ink after you ink it up, and see how there's little lines? It makes for a really cool dimension. So I'll show you how that works in here. So here's the two differences. One is solid and one has stripes. Kind of like the stripes, it just gives it a little bit more texture. So just keep that in mind when you're doing leaves or anything that you can do some texture on. Just slide it down your ink pad. And that one you can't see as well because it's dark on dark. It's a dark ink on dark side. So I don't know if I'll use that one, but you can't use the back side of these because they go the other way. I'll show you. So they're opposite when in their curvatures. Okay. Leaves are hardly ever symmetrical. There are some out there that are. And I think in this upcoming catalog there's some thin cuts that are symmetrical leaves actually, which are beautiful. I will show you those when I get them in. That is for certain. Okay, so there's all my little flowers and petals. I'll bring my card back in. Actually, let's just get these off of here so that I can actually wipe this down. I don't want any smudges on the inside of my card, because that's really what people are going to see, and I don't like hiding things if I don't have to. So let's do this. Now this is really cool because you can start layering flowers now, right? So like I can take these two blues, the bigger one and the little one. I can put one in the middle. Now this one has 6 petals and this one has 5, so it may be better just to do a 5 and a 5 so that you can get it right in the middle of all of that, which actually I really like that, so I think I'm going to keep it that way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the big one just with Tombow on the bottom, and then I'll put 3D foam on this one. But let's just go ahead and place them where we think we want them. Now I could do that with the yellow as well and keep it similar. And I'm just playing around with placement right now. I don't really know where I'm going to put all these. Like I said, if I snug this up here, then I could have put a flower over here, but I didn't. And 2 flowers might be enough, and I think they need to go together. Somewhere, I don't know, since I don't want it all focused on this side, I kind of want your eye to be drawn all the way across the card. So you can kind of think of your cards in quadrants. So maybe we'll do this. Maybe I will use this dark evergreen just as a background one. Yeah, I think this is going to look really cute. Okay, so this is, I think this is pretty good. Yeah, something like that. So you have a little cluster, and then you have your sentiment, which does drag your eye across the card. Now I can leave these little guys for later. So I'm going to go ahead and tape these all down. Grab my 3D. And I want the thin one because I am going to be layering quite a bit on here. So I'm just going to use my little 3D foam tape. This is the thin stuff, comes in a roll. My roll looks messy because my kids decided to take scissors to it during a workshop when I wasn't looking. Quite fun, aren't they? Taking scissors to things. Okay, there's that. Now I kind of want this leaf overlapping this one. So I'm going to go ahead and tape that in there now before I put my yellow one on. I kind of want it coming out of the yellow actually, so maybe I'll just put it down like that. And these two I should have slipped in there actually. I think I still can. This is the dark one, not the dark one underneath. Light one. There's that one. And there's the light one. That'll be fine. Sometimes what I do is if I have my phone and I'm not recording these, I take a picture of the placement and then I can go right back to it. So if you guys are unsure of what you did, get in the habit of taking a picture with your phone and you can just delete it afterwards. But then that way you get exactly what you wanted once you start moving it around and taping or gluing it down. So there's the card. I think it needs some blingy stuff on it. And I might put some dots in there. Let's do the In This Together dots. I know I have some. They're these ones. In This Together and Daisy Meadows dots are very similar, and I have them both, so I'll show you what they both look like. They're just a little bit more pastel in the Daisy Meadows dots. But I love dots. I don't know about you guys, but I love dots. So when they have dots as an embellishment, I get them. Especially when they're this colorful. So, see how similar those are? They're very similar. So, I'm just going to use them. There's different yellows. You get the nectarine, you get a different green here, and a different blue-green here, but they're very, very similar in colors. So, that is why I chose these two papers together as well. But, let's see here. In This Together, let's do, maybe I'll do, and see, this is the cool thing, is that they come on clear sliders. So you can actually see your placement before you actually do them. So I could do like a big one up here, and then a little one here, and I'll really drag your eye all the way around the sentiment and down into this corner. And I probably will do that. And I might use a mixture of both dots. So, since I use sapphire up here, I think I'm going to use a bigger sapphire. I'm going to use the second largest one. And what you do is you just stick your fingernail, my thumbnail, underneath, and just kind of loosen that adhesive from the clear thing, and then you just hold it where you want it, and it'll slide right off. So there's that one. I use Sundance, and I want a little one. So again, I'm just gonna, it's basically pulling the tablecloth underneath the plates. If you've ever seen that trick or done that trick, let me know if you've done it and been successful. Kind of interesting. And I'm going to use this green from In This Together. I'm just going to put it down here. So it kind of drags your eye all the way around. So there you go. There's the finished card. You can always put them in the middle of these two, or little glitter gems or stickles or pearls or something too. But I think this looks just fine. All right, you guys have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you on Saturday for Scrap Your Stash scrapbook. All right, talk to you later. Bye.